Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or The Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing an XFL breakdown from week number 3. Now, typically, this video is posted on Monday, but since I posted a Dynasty video on Monday, I wanted to get that out as soon as possible. It was delayed until Tuesday, but next week's XFL week numero 4 recap will be out on Monday or potentially on Sunday after the games. Now, the first game here to start off the Saturday slate, we had the Houston Roughnecks going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Before this game, the Houston Roughnecks were 2-0 and the Vipers were 0-2. To me, this seemed like a matchup where the Roughnecks completely outclassed the Tampa Bay Vipers, but the Vipers actually showed up. Now, the Houston Roughnecks won the game 34-27 to improve their record to 3-0 and to make the Tampa Bay Vipers a measly 0-3. Now, this was a game where, like many people would predict, Mr. Walker of the Houston Roughnecks showed up and played amazing. Walker, to me, is the best quarterback in the XFL thus far based on what I have seen. 24 completions on 36 attempts, so 67% completion ratio for 306 yards and 3 total touchdowns with a quarterback rating of 120.8. An amazing game yet again by him. This Roughnecks team is very pass-heavy. They do not really run the ball. A lot of the teams in the XFL, you noticed, even though this is a pass-happy league, and it pretty much is, they do run the ball a whole lot, or they do pass the ball a whole lot. The Houston Roughnecks just don't really commit to the run at all. 7 touches from Mr. Butler, 7 touches for 72 yards, 0 touchdowns. Walker, the quarterback, 4 attempts for 34 yards and 1 total touchdown. So he had 4 total touchdowns on the day. He absolutely murdered the Tampa Bay Vipers, who do not really have a good defense. Williams, 4 touches for 8 yards and no touchdowns. Holly, 1 touch for 1 yard. Now, in the passing game for the Houston Roughnecks, it was all Phillips all game long. 10 targets on 8 receptions for over 100 yards, 194 yards, almost 200 yards, which is 24.3 average yards per catch, and a 3 total touchdowns. A absolutely amazing day from Phillips and Walker. He caught every single touchdown on the team. So I'm not even going to bring up the other guys. Lewis also got the ball a lot in this game. 9 targets, 6 receptions for 41 yards for the Houston Roughnecks. Now, they completely ditched and canned that sorry-ass motherfucker that was starting at quarterback for the Tampa Bay Vipers, Aaron Murray. That dude was so fucking trash. They said, get the hell out of here. We're starting my main man, Cornelius. 16 completions on 31 attempts, 52% completion ratio for 193 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT for a 68.3 completion ratio. So I still don't understand why Quentin Flowers is not the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Vipers. Now, Cornelius played fine, but when fucking Flowers is on the field, this team looks amazing. You're not sure if they're going to run. You're not sure if they're going to pass because Flowers is all over the field. Flowers did get it in this game for 6 attempts with 4 completions with a 51 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 INTs for a 93.1 quarterback rating. Now, the Vipers, on the contrary to the Roughnecks, actually like to run the ball. 15 carries for Dennis Smith for 49 yards and 0 touchdowns. Cornelius ran 1 in, so 2 total touchdowns on the day. Flowers ran 1 in as well for 29 yards. I do think that Flowers is the better option, but I'm honestly not sure that the Vipers would switch on it. They are 0-3. They should try something different, and they should start Flowers. I am just not sure that they will. Tolliver had a big game for the Tampa Bay Vipers. 13 targets on 8 receptions for 104 total yards and a touchdown by D. Williams in the passing game. I personally think that the Vipers may not actually be the worst team in the league. Sure, they are 0-3, which isn't great, but it seems like this week they really figured it out. The last 2 weeks, they looked like a terrible team. This week, they looked like they could play with the big dogs in Houston. I think that the Tampa Bay Vipers do have the potential to not finish as the worst team in the XFL. So right now, currently, Roughnecks move to 3-0, like I said, and the Vipers are 0-3. Now to move to the second game on Saturday, the Dallas Renegades versus the Seattle Dragons. Before this game, I believe the Dallas Renegades were 1-1, and the Seattle Dragons were also 1-1. So this was a very even matchup, but the Dallas Renegades ended up improving to 2-1, 24-12. The Seattle Dragons fall to 1-2. Now, to me, the Seattle Dragons actually probably have the best wide receiver in the league. They have a guy that would fit in the Bill Belichick wide receiver system. You guessed it, a short white guy. Profil, 7 targets, 6 receptions, 81 yards, and 1 touchdown. This guy continues to amaze me on the field. This guy is amazing. The Dallas Renegades, though, are looking much better with my boy Landry Jones starting at the helm at the quarterback position. Landry Jones, 30 completions on 41 attempts for 73 completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, 2 INTs, 274 yards, and 95 quarterback rating. Now, Brandon Silvers is looking like a pretty good quarterback as well. 21 completions on 34 attempts, 62% completion ratio for 204 yards, 2 total touchdowns, and 1 INT for an 85.9 completion ratio. Now, Landry Jones is much more of the pocket passer-esque guy. Silvers will get out of the pocket. He actually rushed the ball 5 attempts for 15 yards, but I think that Landry Jones was obviously the better quarterback in this matchup. These two guys are probably just average quarterbacks. They're not great, and they're not terrible like some guys we are going to be speaking about later in the video. My brother Cameron Artis Payne, number 34, 13 attempts, 80 yards, 0 touchdowns for the Renegades, and Dunbar, 8 attempts for 23 yards and no touchdowns. For the Seattle Dragons, Gardner got the ball 8 times for 37 yards, and then a bunch of other guys got the ball as well. None of these teams are super run heavy at all. The Seattle Dragons are really spreading the ball out, and it seems like the Renegades are committed to 2 guys just running that rock. Now, if we look in the receiving game for the Dallas Renegades, Param, 7 targets on 5 receptions for over 101 yards and 2 total touchdowns. Nagel ended up finding the end zone, 1 touchdown on 39 yards. Dunbar was getting it done on the ground and in the receiving game. 11 targets, 9 receptions for 56 yards. Now, what I thought about this game personally is that the Renegades are just going to be one of those okay so-and-so teams. I think that the Renegades may finish as number 2 in the West because to me the West is not very competitive at all. It seems very top-heavy, but I mean, the East kind of is too. But at the end of the day, I think that the Renegades are continuing to play well. The Dragons are just an okay team as well. I don't see either of these teams winning the XFL championship game, whenever that is, a bunch of weeks from now. Now on to the Sunday slate of games. So if you guys have enjoyed the video thus far, please make sure to click that subscribe button down below. Now, if you guys have not been watching for a while, you know that I'm a fan of the New York Guardians, and the New York Guardians fucking suck. The New York Guardians went out week 1, balled out. Week 2, they disappointed, and week 3, they disappointed me even more. I had to turn the game off. The Guardians are fucking terrible. I will continue to show my allegiance to the Guardians because I don't switch teams. I don't switch up. I've been a Dolphins fan my whole life, and those motherfuckers suck too. So the Guardians 9, the Battlehawks 29. The Battlehawks advanced from going 1-1. Now they're 2-1, and the Guardians go from 1-1 to 1-2. To me, Mr. Tamu, the quarterback of the Battlehawks, is the player of the game. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and this motherfucker didn't even really have to pass the ball at all on the Guardians. They were just running the rock in. They were throwing stupid picks. There was defense doing shit for the Battlehawks. They didn't even need to do anything. They could have sent me out there, quarterback, and I believe they would have won that game. The Guardians are just so unenthusiastic. They look like they're just going to get battered week in and week out. They just do not stand a chance at all. Unless they switch quarterbacks, I just don't think that the team believes in Mr. Matt McGloin. So Tamu, 12 completions on 18 attempts for 119 yards, a 67% completion ratio, 0 touchdowns, and 0 INTs. He rushed the ball 3 times for 14 yards. This guy's one of the best quarterbacks in the game. I know those stats don't necessarily show it, but if you watch the game, you could tell that he was the best player on the field. My brother Christian Michael, 13 attempts for 44 yards in the rushing game and 1 total touchdown. Jones got the ball 15 times for 95 yards and 1 touchdown. The receiving game for the Battlehawks obviously did not look all that amazing since no one scored a touchdown, so I'm not really going to bring up any of those guys. Now the Guardians. The Guardians had 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 fucking quarterbacks play in the game. A carousel of fucking idiots getting in at the quarterback position for the New York Guardians. I believe, personally, you could put any quarterback that plays in New Jersey in high school on a varsity team. The guy that won states he probably was better than Mr. Matt McGloin. Matt McGloin is a sorry-ass motherfucker who will not lead the Guardians to win anything in this league. He won week 1 against the sorry-ass Vipers. He will not win again. Can that guy? He is a cancer to the locker room. No one believes in him. McGloin, Mr. Matt McGloin, 8 completions for out 11 attempts for 84 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 INT. Williams gets in the game, 7 completions for 15 attempts, so 47% completion ratio, 94 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 INTs, and Perez, 4 completions, 5 attempts, 80% completion ratio, 39 yards, and 1 touchdown. Which quarterback do you go with? I have no idea. If McGloin wasn't such a fucking idiot, I think he's the best option we have here, but he has been making horrible decisions. He's been yelling at the coaching. I just do not trust the guy. Get him the fuck out of there. Bring someone new in there. Perez or Williams. Let one of those guys get the starting role. The Guardians try to run the ball, but they're just not successful. Well, actually, they are kind of successful at running the ball. Just don't run the ball enough. 9 attempts for 50 yards from Cook, and then Victor, 10 attempts for 50 yards, and the quarterback Williams, 2 attempts for 12 yards. Now, the receiving game, nothing to talk about here either. Duke ended up scoring the 1 touchdown for the New York Guardians. The Guardians are a sorry-ass team. The St. Louis Battlehawks look like one of the better teams in the league. Right now, they are listed at number 1 on the standings, and number 2 is the DC Defenders. We're going to be talking later about the standings and all of that, but the Battlehawks look like a nasty team. They've got a nasty defense. They got it all completed. They are a team that I would not be surprised won the XFL Super Bowl. They are one of the juggernaut teams in the league. The Battlehawks have amazing punting in Marquette King. They've got a great defense. They've got a great quarterback. They've got a great running back, and it seems like they have some good receivers, and they also have good coaching. A lot of things that the Guardians do not have. If I am being completely honest with you, the Guardians need to completely change what they're doing. They need to get rid of McGloin. I think they go with someone different. Maybe we could see them returning back to being good like they were from week 1. And now the final game on the slate, the DC Defenders versus the LA Wildcats. And to me, this is the most surprising outcome of the week. The DC Defenders look like the juggernaut of the XFL, and they got bent over and absolutely smacked in the ass repeatedly. The DC Defenders scored 9 total points. The LA Wildcats, like they're from East High, 39 touchdowns, 39 total points. Jay Johnson shoved his Johnson in the DC Defender's ass. 18 completions for 25 on 25 attempts, a 72% completion ratio, 278 total yards, and 3 total tutties. Cordero Jones, yet another amazing quarterback in the XFL, did not have a day on Sunday. He disappointed big time. 50 completion ratio, 103 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 4 INTs. The Defenders have fallen from grace. I still think they're a great team. I still think this was just an off game, but the Wildcats look nasty on defense and on offense. Now, for the Wildcats, they got a bunch of running backs. Carter got the ball a majority of the time. He's the one guy I'm going to talk about. If you want to read more of the stats, they are on the screen right now. We got 11 attempts from my boy Carter for 34 yards and 2 total touchdowns. Rose, 1 total touchdown for him as well. In the receiving game, McBride with 2 touchdowns on 6 targets for 5 receptions, 109 yards. And then we got Carter with 1 touchdown as well. An outright amazing game from the Wildcats. It was certainly in the game for them on Sunday. Brissett with 1 touchdown in the rushing game for the DC Defenders. Really the only guy who did anything on that team. What I got from this game is the Wildcats might be actually pretty good. The Defenders might not be too good. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. I think that the Wildcats, maybe the DC Defenders just did not anticipate that the Wildcats could do anything. Coming into this game, the Wildcats had 0 fucking wins. They thought that this would be easy. I thought the DC Defenders were going to smack them up one time for the gang, and they did absolutely nothing. I think that the DC Defenders will come back next week and look much stronger. Overall, I thought this was a great week in the XFL. Now we're going to look at the standings, but first I'm going to pull up all the stats from the first couple games because I realized maybe you could not have seen all the stats. So I'm going to scroll down here. If you want to look at it, click the pause button. I'm going to make sure that my face cam is not in the way of all of these stats. Scroll down here again. And again for the Guardians, and then one more time for the DC Defenders. Now, I honestly thought that this week in the XFL was pretty good. I was not as drawn as Week 1, guys. Week 1 really drew me in, but that's mainly because the Guardians played so well. The Guardians sucking has kind of made me a bit disappointed, but the league is still good. It is still very entertaining. I still think that a lot of people are going to continue to watch these games, and the fan base will continue to rise. But now it is time to look at the standings in the XFL. In the XFL East, the number 1 team is the St. Louis Battlehawks with 2 games won, 1 game lost. And they are in first place due to, I think, the touchdown plus standing. I believe that's how they figure it out. The Defenders 2-1, the Guardians 1-2, and the Vipers 0-3. The Houston Roughnecks in first place in the the XFL West, 3 games, 1-0 games lost, undefeated for them. The Dallas Renegades 2-1, the Wildcats 1-2, and the Dragons 1-2. I'm still pretty confident. I'm actually not confident anymore in the Guardians. I was last week. I said I think that the Guardians still have potential to be good in the East. They're fucking shit. Get them out of there. It's going to be the Defenders and the Wildcats going at it in the playoffs that first week before they make the championship game. And it's going to be the Roughnecks versus maybe the Wildcats. I'm not sure. The West seems more open than the East. The East is by far, they've got 2 juggernaut teams. And then the West, I think the Renegades or the Wildcats could be that number 2 seed. The Dragons do look much better, but at the end of the day, they're still not really all that good. I think by far the best team in the league right now is the Roughnecks. They're 3-0. They are by far the best team. The DC Defenders looked a bit fraudulent this week, just like the Green Bay Packers did in the NFL all year long. So if you guys did end up enjoying this video, if you guys did enjoy the breakdown, please make sure to click that subscribe button because more content is going to be coming your way every single fucking day except for Saturday and Sunday. If you guys had a good time, click that subscribe button. If you had a bad time, click that dislike button because at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck what button you press. It still brings more views my way. I love each and every single one of you guys. Make sure to have a blessed rest of your day. Make sure to tell someone you love them, and make sure to just have a great day.